So we want to view our symptoms as messengers, right? So whether it's the hot flashes, the insomnia, the anxiety, those aches and pains, those mood swings, they're your body's inner guidance system. And we really need to pay attention. So think about it like we put post-it notes sometimes all over the place to remind ourselves of something. So it's like the body's giving us these post-it notes. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. And ignoring it over and over and over leads to disaster, right? So can we make a conscious decision today? Can all of us make a conscious decision today to listen to our bodies? I discovered again that mind and that body connection. And, we're all wonderfully made, literally from head to toe. So those menopause symptoms are like those messengers providing those important messages that we need to pay attention to. And I neglected my emotional health, and it caught up with me during perimenopause. So perimenopause, I say like it has a way of screaming and throwing a temper tantrum like a toddler. And it's like screaming for you to care for yourself and heal. That's what I came to the realization of. It was like screaming. And sometimes it can be from past trauma or unfinished emotional business, right? That we've accumulated over the years, that first half of our life. So these symptoms were screaming, you know, I don't want to spend the next 40% of my life, that second act, in survival mode. That's what I feel like my body was screaming to me. And it was like, please help me. Like, please help me, Gio. Can you just help me? And so I was ignoring it, like background music. And that's what happens sometimes. That soft background music is just like, oh, it's enjoyable to listen to, but doesn't necessarily make us get up and dance or anything. It's just nice background music. And that's what it was. It's like background music. And we just keep pushing it through, pushing through our hectic routines, whether, we're wives and mothers and we're working and everything else that we're doing, we're just pushing through and ignoring what the body is telling us. And again, that's what we've been taught, right? It's a learned behavior. Let's catch up and see what we're talking about in the chat. So, oh, my day, hey, my day, welcome. She says, yep, girl, yes. Who did put a heart? My day said, woke up. Glenda Smith said, hello, everyone. Hey, Glenda. Nice to see you all and have you all here. It's always encouraging to see you all join the chat. It's like a motivation for me. And it gives me a nice injection while I'm on. So again, it's a learned behavior. Most of us haven't been taught this. So for instance, grieving. Maybe, you never really grieved a loss. And that was my case. Again, just going through this journey, learning all these things. My dad died when I was 5 years old. As a child, you have no idea about grieving. Nobody really talks to you about death. You don't know how to handle it. You basically just continue on your normal life, right? So you think. So, I learned through therapy and emotional wellness, coaches, that if we are dealing with this unfinished business that we never heal from, then it's going to affect us even more during this stage of life, perimenopause and menopause. So when we heal from those emotional wounds from childhood and we address the parts of our life that need attention, we will have fewer menopausal symptoms and we'll find that we are able to quiet down these messages and regain our balance, right? So that's something that I never heard, nobody told me. Usually we never hear these things, but it's powerful. And it absolutely changed this journey for me. Taking care of that unfinished business, healing emotionally, helped me to recuperate, from what I felt like was a verge of a breakdown. Literally, I felt like I was on a verge of a breakdown, and it was an awful feeling. But again, paying attention, listening, finally listening to my body, I was able to recover. let's see. Trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody's messages. Okay, good. So, have you ever had a symptom feel like it was a scream for help? Let me know in the chat. If maybe you had something going on and you realize, I'm noticing this, maybe I'm getting a little bit more anxious than I used to be, but you just kind of like put it in the background, back burner, and you just keep pushing through, keep pushing through. And then here comes another, you know, symptoms. I start to get, these panic attacks or joint pain all of a sudden when I wake up in the morning or when I'm trying to get up out of a chair. I know this was like a reality check for me. I'm like, I'm too young for this. I'm sitting in a chair and I'm like, okay, why am I struggling to get up out of a chair? Again, the body keeps a score and it's letting you know something is going on, right? So let me know in the chat. Let's see. Maite says, yes, extreme fatigue. That was a huge one for me. That chronic fatigue. That's why I woke up that morning and just, I kept noticing when I was waking up in the morning, I was struggling. I was like, why am I struggling? Even after sleeping supposedly all night, I was still struggling in the morning. And every morning it seemed like it got worse. And then finally I got to that point where I could not get out of bed. So I totally get it, Maite. And then Tiffany says, yes, more anxious. Then it was like lack of sleep and then fatigue. Yeah. It starts to give us, the body is giving us warning, right? It starts with one thing, two things, three things. Then it's like symptom after symptom and it's getting worse. The symptoms are worsening, right? Leah says, yep, ended up crying inconsolably at a meeting after my comment. It just hits us like a ton of bricks when we least expect it because it's accumulating. It's been accumulating over time, and that's it. The body's like, I can't take it anymore. You need to listen, right? It starts screaming at us. Maggie says, girl, yes to all you said. I know you feel me? I know you totally can relate. Yes. Maite says, where I had to actually sit and close my eyes, I was like, what is going on? But taking action, self-care is starting to make a difference. Yes, good for you. Hey, Karen, Coach K is in the house. Good to see you. So, yes, ladies, our bodies are talking to us. So, why is the holistic approach to self-care so important, right? We have different facets of our health, right? Our spiritual health, our emotional health, our mental, physical, social, environmental. They're all connected. So ignoring one of these leaves us unbalanced. It leaves us completely unbalanced. You know, I'm blessed that I was raised in a spiritual household, right? And I'm grateful because of that, I was able to survive up until this point. Because sometimes I say, how in the world did I survive? How was I walking around like this? Even though I got to a point where I wasn't really walking, I was actually coming back from work one day walking in a parking lot to my car, and I felt like I could not like hold up the weight of my body. Like I was literally going to just crumble in that parking lot. And that was another thing that another wake up call, like, what is going on? Right. So again, I was brought up in a spiritual household and took care of my spiritual need, recognized the importance, the priority, right? But I neglected my emotional needs all this time. It was just like not a thing, as we say. And again, it's just our upbringing, right? If our parents didn't have the mindset, our grandparents didn't have the mindset, they couldn't transmit that to us. So I finally realized at this stage of life the importance of also caring for my emotional health. Again, we're whole, it's a whole self-care approach. So we can't have overall wellness if one of these aspects of our wellness is lacking. And usually we neglect that emotional care. We don't take care of our emotional health the way we need to. And we suffer the consequences. And a lot of these symptoms, they're indications of these, again, this unfinished business that we didn't take care of emotionally. And when we start to heal emotionally, we notice a difference in these symptoms. So that was like, okay, light bulb moment when I learned that my emotional health was affecting these symptoms. And as I took care of that and also made that a priority, then I started noticing, wow, this is like, it really just blew my mind. It really blew my mind. So that's why, I want you to also think about caring for your emotional health and taking care of those things that maybe you really never took care of in the past. Again, like I mentioned, if you never fully grieved the way you should, you didn't get the help that you needed to be able to heal, that could be affecting you. And that's what, nobody might have told you, and nobody had told me until I got to this stage of life. So